स्थिति दोवां टीमां ले Boston Bruins, Toronto Maple Leafs, a do or die situation, win or go home. And that's the scenario as we head into Hockey Night in Canada, Punjabi tonight. मुंडियो देख लो, Boston 3-1 सीरीज जितदे सी, आगे Toronto Maple Leafs पर गुरप्रीत मुंडियो ड्रामा हैगा इस मुकाबले च कल्ला ਇਹ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਕਹਾਣੀ ਹੈ ਇਸ ਟੀਮ ਦੀ ਇਹ ਨਹੀਂ ਕੱਲੇ ਟੋਰਾਂਟੋ ਦੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਬੋਸਟਨ ਦੀ ਵੀ ਪਰ ਨਾਲ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਕੌਣ ਖੇਡੂਗਾ ਅੱਜ Austin Matthews was on the first bus heading to the arena in Boston, which Elliot Friedman and others reporting that may lead to him potentially playing, maybe a signal there, but there's also some bad news here as well, Gerp.
Yeah, bad news in the goaltending front. So Wall, who's been playing great the past couple of games, ਉਹਦੀ ਵੀ ਖਬਰ ਆਈ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਸ਼ਾਇਦ ਉਹ ਵੀ ਨਾ ਅੱਜ ਨੈਟ ਵਿੱਚ ਖੇਡੇ, ਸ਼ਾਇਦ ਸੈਮਸਨੋਫ ਨੇ ਵਾਪਸ ਨੈਟ ਵਿੱਚ ਆਉਣਾ ਆ। ਸੋ ਇਹ ਵੀ ਬੜੀ ਹੈਰਾਨੀਜਨਕ ਖਬਰ ਹੈਗੀ ਆ ਕਿ ਵਾਲ ਇੰਨਾ ਵਧੀਆ ਖੇਡਿਆ ਪਿਛਲੀਆਂ ਗੇਮਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ, ਜਿੱਤ ਗਏ ਟੋਰਾਂਟੋ, ਪਰ ਹੁਣ ਸੈਮਸਨੋਫ ਜਿਹਦੀ ਆਪਾਂ ਕਾਫੀ ਨੁਕਤਾਚੀਨੀ ਕੱਢੀ ਆ, ਗੱਲਾਂ ਬਾਤਾਂ ਕੀਤੀਆਂ, ਸ਼ਾਇਦ ਉਹ ਵਾਪਸ ਗੋਲਾਂ 'ਚ ਜਾ ਜਾਵੇ।
ਇੱਕ ਚੀਜ਼ ਤਾਂ ਸਾਬਤ ਹੋ ਗਈ, when they play in front of Wall, they play a little bit better defensively, a little more responsible, ਥੋੜਾ ਜਿਹਾ ਨਾ ਉਹ ਬਚਾਉਂਦੇ ਆ ਗੋਲੀ ਨੂੰ ਕਿ ਯਾਰ ਕੱਚਾ ਗੋਲ 'ਚ ਹੀ ਆ ਹਜੇ। ਸੋ ਜੇ ਸੈਮਸਨੋਫ ਆ ਗਿਆ ਗੋਲਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿਚਕਾਰ, ਅਸੀਂ ਦੇਖ ਚੁੱਕੇ ਕੀ ਹੋਇਆ ਇਸ ਸੀਰੀਜ਼ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ।
ਸੋ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਰੋਡਵੇਜ਼ ਦੀ ਬੱਸ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਹੈ ਉਦਾਂ ਲੋਕੀ ਦੇਖਦੇ ਆ ਕਿ ਕਿਹੜੀ ਸਵਾਰੀ ਆ, ਕੌਣ ਉਸ ਬੱਸ ਤੇ ਚੜਿਆ। ਮਾਰਟਨ ਜੋਨਸ, ਸੈਮਸਨੋਫ and Wall are all on the same bus. So bus watch is going on in Boston.
Yes, exactly.
ਕਿਹਦੀ ਸਵਾਰੀ ਕਿਹਦੀ ਬਾਰੀ ਇਹੀ ਚਰਚਾ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਸੀ ਬੋਸਟਨ 'ਚ। ਕਈ ਲੋਕੀ ਨਾਰਾਜ਼ ਸੀਗੇ ਬੋਸਟਨ ਦੇ ਪ੍ਰੇਮੀ, they said you should have played Allmark instead of Swayman in the last game.
I disagree.
ਇਹ ਵੀ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਹੈਗੀ ਹੈ, ਇਹ ਸੋਚਣ ਵਾਲੀ ਗੱਲ ਆ ਕਿ ਟੀਮ ਵਿੱਚੋਂ ਵੀ ਇਹ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਸ਼ਾਇਦ ਹੁੰਦੀਆਂ ਨੇ।
So okay, on that front though, because Toronto is the big drama point here, is who's healthy. We talked about the goaltenders, but we got to talk a little bit about Austin Matthews here as well, because they have won the last 2 games. They're feeling good about themselves. थोड़ा मनोबल तकड़ा हो गया है, पर जे एक खिडारी ਜਿਹੜੇ ਨੇ ਤਕਰੀਬਨ ਪਲੇਆਫਸ ਅਤੇ ਰੈਗੂਲਰ ਸੀਜ਼ਨ ਨੂੰ ਕੁੱਲ ਮਿਲਾ ਕੇ ਉਹਨੇ 70 ਗੋਲ ਕੀਤੇ ਆ ਮਿਕਸ ਕਰਕੇ, ਜੇ ਮੁੜ ਕੇ ਆ ਗਏ ਚੰਗੀ ਗੱਲ ਹੈ, right? I'm just saying it's a good thing, right?
It's a great thing for them because they need him. He's the top centerman. They have to have him in the lineup.
They won 2 in a row, though.
But Game 7's a different beast. You need your top guys in the lineup. I think it's a no-brainer. They must have him if he's ready to play.
They play better with him. Those are the stats we've seen like consistently with the Maple Leafs. And even ਆਹ series ਜਿਹੜੀ ਆ ਦੂਜੀ ਗੇਮ ਖਾਸ ਕਰਕੇ ਉਹ ਗੇਮ ਡੋਮੀਨੇਟ ਕੀਤੀ ਆਸਟਨ ਮੈਥਿਊਜ਼ ਨੇ, 2 ਅਸਿਸਟ ਤਾਂ ਜਿੱਤਮਾ ਗੋਲ ਵੀ ਕੀਤਾ। ਉਹ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਤੀਜੀ ਗੇਮ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਉਹਦੀ ਸਿਹਤ ਥੋੜੀ ਜਿਹੀ ਖਰਾਬ ਹੋ ਗਈ ਤਾਂ ਉਹ ਖੇਡਿਆ ਨਹੀਂ। ਪਰ if Austin Matthews is in the lineup, that's a huge plus for the Maple Leafs. Huge.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the last couple of games, Boston had 1 shot in the first period, 2 shots in the first period. The defense has been the X factor, I think, cleaning up their game on the back end. It's not that Matthews is in or out of the lineup.
And here's some visuals of Austin Matthews practicing. We got Kyle Bukauskas there in Boston ready to go. He's practicing. He doesn't need practice, but Maple Leaf Square, a lot of folks getting ready for that. A lot of Austin Matthews jerseys out there. Gal ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਸਹੀ ਹੁੰਦਾ, ਜੇ ਖੇਡਿਆ ਇਸ ਟੀਮ ਨੂੰ ਫਾਇਦਾ ਹੋਣਾ ਹੈ, ਪਰ ਸਵਾਲ ਇਹ ਹੈ ਕਿ where's the percentage point at? Is he at 60%, 70%? Of course, nobody's saying
you take him either way, man.
Listen, he's one of the best goal scorers. He's the best goal scorer in the league.
Yeah.
Right? And if we go back 10 years, 12 years, you can have your Mount Rushmore of goal scorers in the NHL. He's on that for most people. But that percentage point really matters here. Where do you give him the same ice time? Or is this a Steven Stamkos type of situation? Remember when they won in the bubble, Stamkos didn't play very much, but he gave the team a boost. He was out there for a couple of shifts. Is it that sort of situation? Like, there's a lot to be answered here still.
Yeah, he doesn't have to play his regular minutes. You still want him available. If he's 75% good, ready to go, of course you want him playing. If he's 60%, you still would like him out there. Maybe throw him out for a shift every now and then and see what happens.
But you know what? That's a tough thing to do, because if he's not right, he's physically not able to compete. He's not winning battles along the boards and behind the corners.
Then you don't play him anymore. That's
it's tough. Those are the type of mistakes that cost you in the playoffs.
ਪਰ ਮੁੰਡਿਓ ਇਹ ਵੀ ਗੱਲ ਹੈਗੀ ਹੈ, ਤਕਰੀਬਨ ਹਰੇਕ ਮੁਕਾਬਲੇ 'ਚ 100 ਧੱਕੇ ਮਾਰੇ ਆ ਦੋਵੇਂ ਟੀਮਾਂ ਨੇ ਮਿਕਸ ਕਰਕੇ ਐਡ ਕਰਕੇ। ਹੁਣ 7ਵੇਂ ਮੁਕਾਬਲੇ 'ਚ ਉਹ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਥਕਾਵਟ ਆ, ਜਿਹੜੀ ਭੰਨ ਤੋੜ ਆ, ਉਹ ਸ਼ਾਮਲ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਆ, ਉਹ ਮੋਹਰੇ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਦੇਖਣ ਨੂੰ ਦਿਸਦੀ ਆ। So if you take somebody off the roster because your top guy is 50% and he's not playing that much, this is the war of attrition in the playoffs. You got to be extremely careful on that front too.
Especially against a very physical team, and Zacha has been really good in terms of using his body, and if Matthews is competing against him, it's going to be a tough night.
And that was Willie Nylander, who was getting ready in the Boston Bruins the arena, of course, in the Toronto Maple Leafs locker room. But let's talk about Willie a little bit, because there was a lot of talk at the beginning of the series कि ਇਹ ਕਿੱਥੇ ਆ ਖਿਡਾਰੀ ਕਿ ਇਹ ਖੇਡਦਾ ਕਿਉਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕੀ ਕਿ ਇਹਨੂੰ ਸਕ੍ਰੈਚ ਕੀਤਾ ਗਿਆ ਕਿ ਇਹ ਇਦਾਂ ਵੀ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਸੀ ਪਰ ਪਿਛਲੇ ਮੁਕਾਬਲੇ 'ਚ 2 ਗੋਲ ਕੀਤੇ ਉਹ ਵੀ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਆਖਰੀ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਐਂਡ ਤੇ ਦੂਸਰੇ ਪੀਰੀਅਡ ਦੇ ਐਂਡ ਤੇ ਸੀ ਬੜਾ ਮਹੱਤਵਪੂਰਨ ਗੋਲ ਸੀ
ਬਹੁਤ ਵਧੀਆ ਖੇਡਿਆ ਪਹਿਲੀਆਂ 3 ਗੇਮਾਂ ਮਿਸ ਕੀਤੀਆਂ ਪਰ ਲਾਸਟ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ 3 ਗੇਮਾਂ ਖੇਡਿਆ ਪਰ ਰਣਦੀਪ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਲਾਸਟ ਗੇਮ ਹੋਈ ਸੀਗੀ ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਪੂਰੀ ਜਾਗ ਆ ਗਈ ਉਹੀ ਵਿਲੀਅਮ ਨੀਲਾਂਡਰ ਦੇਖਣ ਨੂੰ ਮਿਲਿਆ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਰੈਗੂਲਰ ਸੀਜ਼ਨ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਸੀਗਾ ਤੇ ਪੂਰੀ ਡੋਮੀਨੇਟ ਕੀਤੀ ਉਹਨੇ ਗੇਮ ਹਰ ਪੱਖੋਂ ਗੋਲ ਸਕੋਰਿੰਗ ਪੱਖੋਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਪਰ ਡਿਫੈਂਸਿਵ ਖੇਡ ਫਿਜ਼ੀਕਲ ਖੇਡ ਬਾਡੀ ਚੈੱਕ ਸਪੋਰਟ ਚੈੱਕ ਸਾਰੇ ਪੱਖੋਂ ਹਰੇਕ ਪੱਖੋਂ ਵਧੀਆ ਖੇਡਿਆ
For me the difference has been his understanding of when to back off and when to go attack and when to be more aggressive. He's kind of taken a little bit of a backseat. Even on the power play we noticed when they had the first power play in the first period and he kind of laid off a little bit and he made sure he was back in his own end to challenge DeBrusque when DeBrusque had a chance.
But that's one of the things when we talk about Austin Matthews not being in the lineup. Some of the leaders on this team now have to step up, right? And Gerp, we talked about this off air, the Ewing effect, right? It goes back to the NBA Finals way back when, or NBA playoffs, where Patrick Ewing was in the lineup.
You have to drag your Knicks into this.
No, it's an actual theory. It's a Ewing theory, where other players like Allen Houston and all that, they played better when Patrick Ewing wasn't in the lineup because they took responsibility. I'm not saying this team is better without Austin Matthews. That's not my point here. But my point is maybe that's why you see a little bit more responsibility from a Willie Nylander.
And we've seen that with other teams too this season, right? Where if a star is out, the other guys, right? They get a bit more opportunity to play. Matthew Nyes is your favorite player. He's been playing great all series.
He is my favorite, and he's my favorite for a reason. He's probably been the best Leaf on the ice in the last 2 or 3 games. And that raises a question. Everybody's been pointing the finger, boys. Where is Mitch Marner? What's happening with Mitch Marner? What's his future? Is this acceptable or not? So you're talking about Nylander having to step up his game. Mitch Marner is another guy who needs to amp it up tonight.
And Game 7 is a big game for all of these players. And this is when the star players step up, but this is also when you get the unlikely heroes. And one of those guys, Pat Maroon, he's got 3 game-winning, series-clinching goals in his career. But even beyond that, and you're having a look at the players getting ready to go. Ilya Lyubushkin leading this team, tied for the team lead in assist, which is kind of shocking, but also speaks to the lack of offense in the series. But let's talk about Boston a little bit here, because 2 fronts. You guys mentioned the goaltending before. Swayman does not have a good record in Game 7s. He has actually not won one. So there's that discussion, and there's a lot of folks saying, hey, you did the rotation all year long. After a loss, after the first loss, why didn't you give it to Allmark? Is that a legit concern for this team right now?
I just think if that's what you know, that's what's been successful for you all year long, why go away from it? I'm not saying, they lost because of Swayman. He's been a great goalie in the whole series. But if that's what your bread and butter is, stick with it. And they, obviously they didn't.
Playoffs is different though, right? Things change, and it's not like Swayman played poorly, like you said. He played well, but kidya Swayman, so why take him out? And Allmark, the game he did play, he was good too, but he was not as good as Swayman in my opinion. Like the confidence that the team showed with Swayman was a little bit different. So I have no issue with them starting Swayman for the rest of the series or for today.
Nobody was lighting up Swayman.
No.
David Pastrnak, however, his own coach had some comments saying Pastrnak needs to step up.
Yes.
ਤਾਂ ਜੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਹੁਣ ਮੁਕਾਬਲੇ ਇਹ 6 ਜਿਹੜੇ ਹੋਏ ਆ ਦੇਖਦੇ ਆ ਡਬਰਸ ਨੇ 3 ਗੋਲ ਕੀਤੇ ਮਾਰਸ਼ਾਨ ਨੇ ਪੁਆਇੰਟ ਚੱਕੇ ਆ He's done whatever he can. He's a little quiet the last couple of games, but David Pastrnak, sure, he's got some points, but he's a 110-point player. Ki, वो गुम हो गया ਅਸੀਂ ਮਿਚ ਮਾਰਨਰ ਦੀ ਬਹੁਤ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਪਰ Pastrnak ਤੇ ਵੀ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਇੱਥੇ ਨੁਕਤਾਚੀਨੀ ਬਹੁਤ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਕਰਨੀ ਪੈਣੀ
It's shocking to see him get called out because you don't see a player like that who has a bit of elbow grease, scores goals for sure. He's known for that, but he also can play on the other end, and he's a responsible player. He kind of plays like a center, and it's rare to see that. It's going to be interesting to see how he responds.
He hasn't had a good series though.
I personally, I think he's been okay actually. I think he's been working hard. He's getting the right opportunities. The execution hasn't been there. Maybe he's not shooting enough, but I do think
this is the playoffs, man. You got to be a game breaker.
He's the type of guy that will respond to
I don't know, man. He's been working hard, but the results have not been there. And like just watching him play, just too many mistakes in my opinion. Just not playing with confidence or something. There's something going on.
Well, that's the beauty of Game 7 though, because everything else ਤੁਸੀਂ ਚੇਤਾ ਭੁਲਾ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ ਜੇ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਕੋਲ ਵੱਡਾ ਮੁਕਾਬਲਾ 7ਵੇਂ ਮੁਕਾਬਲੇ 'ਚ ਹੋਇਆ Mitch Marner, that's looking at you, David Pastrnak, it could be Ilya Samsonov. There's a lot of talks about if he plays tonight, Leafs fans are not looking forward to that, but if he does and he plays a good game, guess what? The previous parts of the series, you can kind of forget that,
boys,
right?
Part of that calling out is also like desperation by the coach, Jim Montgomery. Like last year, they had the best record ever, and they lost in the first round. prior to that, even with Dallas against St. Louis, same thing. Lost a clinching game, lost the series. So this is on him as well. He's pulling out every stop, calling out whoever he needs to call out to make sure they get this win.
I've always wanted to do this. The producer is talking in my ear, letting me know that Ilya Samsonov is about to lead the Toronto Maple Leafs onto the ice. There you see it, getting ready. And Samsonov, this could be a huge moment. Obviously, Joseph Woll did a great job in the last game, but there is some questions about his health, and Samsonov could be the guy tonight, which maybe you change a little bit of the way you play because you need more offense, you push a little bit harder, and this is something that we're going to have to watch here, guys, but that looks like it could be the case. Ilya Samsonov leading the team out.
There's also the factor of, Swayman on the other end, and he's maybe a little bit in his head. It's not like Samsonov's been bad, particularly in this series when he's played, but Swayman has been the better goalie on the ice anytime he's been teeing up across from Samsonov.
And here they go, led out by Ilya Samsonov. So that could be a plot twist in Boston. ਅੱਜ ਦੇ ਮੁਕਾਬਲੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਛੇਵੇਂ ਮੁਕਾਬਲੇ 'ਚ ਬਹੁਤ ਵਧੀਆ ਖੇਡਿਆ ਸੀ ਜੋਸਫ ਵॉल, ਪਰ ਅੱਜ ਲੱਗਦਾ Ilya Samsonov ਟ੍ਰੈਡੀਸ਼ਨ ਦੇ ਮੁਤਾਬਕ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਪਹਿਲਾ ਗੋਲ ਸੀ ਪ੍ਰੀ ਗੇਮ ਵਾਰਮ ਅਪ 'ਚ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਆ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਸਟਾਰਟ ਮਿਲਦੀ ਆ, ਸੋ ਇਹ ਦੇਖਣ ਵਾਲੀ ਗੱਲ ਹੈ.
Matthews is also taking that skate like we mentioned, so let's see what happens with Austin Matthews. ਬੜੀ ਇਹ ਵੀ ਵੱਡੀ ਖਬਰ ਹੋਣੀ ਆ ਜੇ ਅੱਜ ਖੇਡਿਆ Austin Matthews. So ਇੱਕ ਪੱਖੋਂ ਮਾੜੀ ਖਬਰ, Wall is out, Samsonov is in. That's not the ideal situation, but if you can get Matthews back and playing 75%, giving some good shifts, that's a huge plus for the Maple Leafs.
All right, we see what we see now, and Austin Matthews, there you have it, number 34. AM Jonti ਤਿਆਰ ਹੋ ਰਿਹਾ, ਤਾਂ ਦੇਖਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਜਦੋਂ ਅਫੀਸ਼ੀਅਲ ਲਿਸਟ NHL ਮੀਡੀਆ ਸਾਈਟ ਤੇ ਗਈ ਹੈ, ਅਸੀਂ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਦੱਸਾਂਗੇ, ਜੋ ਔਨ 에ਅਰ ਪੱਕਾ ਦੱਸਾਂਗੇ ਉਸ ਮੁਕਾਬਲੇ 'ਚ ਕੀ ਹੋਣਾ, ਪਰ AM 34 ਹੈਗਾ ice ਤੇ Austin Matthews is on the ice. All right, guys, yeah, grip.
ਤੇ ਇੱਕ ਹੋਰ Elliot Friedman ਦਾ tweet ਵੀ ਆਇਆ ਕਿ ਹਾਂ ਸ਼ੁਰੂਆਤ Samsonov ਕਰ ਰਿਹਾ, Martin Jones is the backup, so Wall is out.
Okay, so he's not even backing up.
Yes,
he's not
Martin
even in
Jones
jersey
is the backup, and
so,
Austin Matthews taking warm-ups, expected to play as well, is what Elliot said.
All right, and we'll see how much he plays. The other thing, quickly, I want to get to this before we leave on the final topic, guys. Pressure on both teams. It's Game 7. We're feeling the pressure, and we have nothing to do with this game. Who's the pressure on more?
What do you take, buddy?
I think it's on Toronto. I think the pressure's
Really?
on. I think the pressure's on Toronto. I mean, it's the mecca of hockey. We talk about Toronto all the time. And last year they finally made it out of the first round. Now they're back in that same situation again, and they've lost to this Boston team. A lot of the same players as well the past few years, or the past few times they've been in this situation. So I think they got to mentally get over that hurdle and move on and see how far they can get.
Again, there's no real wrong answer, but even with the Bruins, with the situation they're in right now, with having the best team last year in NHL history and this year being at the top of the division, expectations are high, and they cannot, you have 3 opportunities to win this series. You have to win this series if you're Boston.
Not only that, the coach is also feeling the pressure, right, in Boston, in terms of hasn't been able to win a clinching game in Boston, and going back to his days in Dallas, he lost the final 2 there too. So Boston's feeling it because this would be the first team in MLB, NBA, and NHL history to lose a 3-1 lead in a playoff series. No other league has this happened back-to-back years. And Jim Montgomery, on top of that, is feeling the heat because he's having a bit of history himself. So look at that. That's the type of history you don't want to make.
Exactly. You don't want to be part of those record books. And, you can see the frustration. He's calling out his team. He's calling out his superstar player. The pressure is definitely mounting up.
Guys, I think it's safe to say that whichever team loses this game, that coach is probably gone as well. Montgomery's been calling out his players. Keefe's been calling out his players all season. So he's definitely desperate as well. But whoever loses, there's going to be a lot of changes with that team.
Well, one thing is, though, the same management team in Boston, so they have maybe a little bit more solid footing there in Toronto. Brad Treliving's the new guy there. Yeah. So I think it means a little bit more for Sheldon Keefe.
I think, Keefe's got to watch out a little bit more because this is the last opportunity.
And also Shanahan. There's a new president and CEO at MLSE. Anything can happen. Maybe Shanahan's time is up.
A lot to play for today, boys. Not only the Stanley Cup, but also jobs. I'm going to say this, though. This is the beauty of a Game 7. ਜਿਹੜੇ ਵੱਡੇ ਸਿਤਾਰੇ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਆ, they can step up. The role players, they can step up. A player that you didn't expect to play, they can step up. What happens? We'll tell you about it on Hockey Night in Canada Punjabi. Asi Puri show, asli show, ਅਸੀਂ ਕੁਝ ਮਿੰਟਾਂ 'ਚ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਆ ਰਹੇ ਹਾਂ. We'll talk to you then. Take care and enjoy the game.